So, as I said, in the second half of Romans, around Romans 12, preachers, and I said I've seen this done when Romans is discussed. You get to about chapter 12 and it just kind of stops. Preachers and teachers will kind of stop there. They're interested in the first half. And for obvious reasons. Revelation, you get to the end of the 7 churches and kind of stops there. Because the first few chapters here, I didn't see how many there are that comprises of the 7 churches, but they're pretty easy to preach out of. But if you don't study the rest of Revelation, you actually get a partial picture. And we're going to see that right here in the beginning of chapter 2. So, this is the church in Ephesus. Let's get the zany professor in here. All right. So, to the angel of the church in Ephesus write, the words of him who holds the 7 stars in his right hand, who walks among the 7 golden lampstands. Now, earlier it talked about that he had fallen, John had fallen, and he was brought up by the right hand. I would imagine that means, from what I'm looking at, power. Also, you have the that's one where I'm being a little speculative, to be honest with you. Now, the angel, if you go back to Daniel, where angel is a messenger, and so angel in this case is a messenger. So it's to the messenger of the church in Ephesus, right? So this is going to be to for that representative of that church or that messenger, and then when the 7 stars that Jesus is holding here is the churches, right? The light that's on the lampstand. It's represented, within the stars. They're within his grasp, within his power. All right. Now he says this: I know your works, your toil, and your patient endurance, and how you cannot bear with those who are evil, but have tested those who call themselves apostles and are not, and found them to be false. I had a guy one time I was witnessing to, that he said, I've got some good news. I said, what? He said, got a prophet at my church. I said, you have your own prophet? He's like, yeah. He said, guess what he told me? I said, what? He said, the death angel has returned. Don't laugh. He was dead serious. The death angel has returned. I went, really? I said, what, why's that? And he said, well, went into a big spiel about the world, and all that. I said, you know what the death angel did, right? And I think I had a Bible on me. I took him to the passages. I was like, this is the Passover. He was passing over sin, right? This was judgment. Yeah. And I said, I don't see this return of the death angel anywhere in the scriptures and I said, I've got good news for you. I said, since I'm teaching you out of the Bible, you can just consider me a prophet. So you have your own personal prophet. And I said, and I went and I just showed him the gospel, He still didn't fully understand it or didn't embrace it, but it was just so interesting. Anyway, he didn't test this. He could have gone to the scriptures and tested what this guy was saying. I have yet to see the death angel, and this was back in 2004, I think, 2005, maybe 2006. Still have not seen the death angel. It's been pretty quiet. Or maybe he should have tested. That's the calling of the Christian, by the way. And it's not really for other people to do. If you get to a point, I remember I was having some issues with prophecy, so I just started doing as much research in the Bible as I could about prophecy. And that I didn't ask anyone else to do it. I just did it. It's okay to go to sources, and it's okay to have counsel, for sure. That's wise. But I talked yesterday about seeking God. We have to test these things, okay? And that's not easy to do. And Christians in America don't like doing that. They don't. They just don't, unfortunately. And found them to be false. Verse 3, I know you are enduring patiently and bearing up for my name's sake, and you have not grown weary. Now I'm going to tell you, if I felt that I had been doing that when I went into my prayer time and everything, I would feel really good about myself. I'd say, I'm fighting the good fight. I mean, I hopefully wouldn't feel arrogant or anything, but I would think, okay, I know I'm making Jesus happy, right? Verse 4, but I have this against you. And by the way, so far what's been described, wouldn't you love to go to a church that's doing those things? Because not every church is doing those things. So you would have thought, I'm in a healthy church. But I have this against you, that you have abandoned the love you had at first. Now, have they abandoned Jesus or the relationship? I don't think they've abandoned Jesus. They've abandoned the love that they had for Jesus. They've abandoned the relationship. Verse 5, remember, therefore, from where you have fallen, I said that wrong. Remember, therefore, from where, it's like, remember, therefore, from where you have fallen. Repent and do the works you did at first. Now, is it focused on the works? No. The works will be a result of this relationship. Okay? So they can look back and say, well, we used to do this, but why did we used to do this? Well, it's because of this first love they had. If not, I will come to you and remove your lampstand from its place, unless you repent. So it's a conditional thing, right? Then verse 6, yet this you have. You hate the works of the Nicolasians, which I also hate. Okay, guess who the Nicolasians were? They were a series of professional wrestlers. They went all around the Mediterranean, and they had the Intercontinental Mediterranean title. And one of the Nicholas was known for his elbow off the second rope, not the top rope. The top rope wasn't invented until the WWF in the mid-'80s. Macho Man Randy Savage. All right, that's obviously nonsense. But the point I'm trying to make, I'm not actually making a point with that. I do have something to say about the Nicolasians. In that nobody actually knows anything about this group or what this means. If you think you know, you've accepted speculation as knowledge. No one knows. Even Acts, there's some things in Acts, but there's just not enough information to go on here. But wouldn't that be fascinating if it did turn out to be a troupe of pro wrestlers that went around the Mediterranean? I'm thinking that's highly unlikely and way more speculative. But here's my main point. If we get, and I would not be surprised if this happens, one day documents may turn up, manuscripts may turn up that reveals who the Nicolasians were. Or finds other comparisons to Nicolations, and we can make some logical connections. This could happen. And it goes back to what I was saying, that you should get new commentaries. If you've never had a commentary, you should definitely get them. And if you're getting commentaries, you should update them, because we get new manuscripts all the time. And this, again, could be something that ends up happening. Very interesting. Yet this you have. You hate the works of the Nicolations, which I also hate. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. To the one who conquers, I will grant to eat the tree of life, which is in the paradise of God. You don't want to just stop at the 7 churches. People do that. I think preachers do that so they don't have to go to a commentary, because this is so easy to preach out of. If you're ever at a church where the pastor is sick and you get a last second opportunity to preach something, I'd recommend going to Revelation 2 and going to the church in Ephesus. It's very easy to preach out of, but you're not going to get the full picture if you stop there. Why do I say that? Let's go to Revelation 22. All right. Very, very end. This is the river of life. Now, the river of life flowed out of the Garden of Eden. Revelation is going to end where Genesis begins. The river of life is flowing out of the Garden of Eden. And keep in mind also, I said that there's that crystal in the throne room of God that represents water. That's going to be important here. And this is a river of life. And what was in Eden? The tree of life, right? Which we're looking at in this church in chapter 3. Now look at chapter 22. When the angel showed me the river of the water of life, bright as crystal, flowing from the throne room of God, from the throne of God, and of the Lamb, through the middle of the street of the city, also on either side of the river, the tree of life, and its 12 kinds of fruit, yielding its fruit each month. So this is the river of life, which flows through the New Jerusalem. All right, so when you look at the first chapter of Revelation, second chapter in Ephesus, let's reread that passage real quick. It says, "He who has an ear, let him hear that what the Spirit says to the churches. To the one who conquers, I will grant to eat the tree of life, which is in the paradise of God." It may have been possible that a preacher read that and said, "Oh, that's Genesis." Well, they're right. That's incomplete. It's the future. It's the new Jerusalem. Now, you may be tempted to say, "Well, Travis, you talked about not caring about the real estate." Take a close look at the New Jerusalem, because it's not too worried about the real estate either. What is the New Jerusalem? Right? It's something that I think is beyond imagination. Should be really interesting. All right, Smyrna next time.